It's Shakespeare Sunday. I hope you're all well. And here is your host, the very only Duncan Morris, me. I'm the very only Duncan. Don't you forget that. Hello, everybody. Great to see you today. Hope you're doing very well. I've gone, I don't know if you can see, but I've gone I've committed to the side parting today. Look at that. Very crisp, very clear. Nicola has just said on Facebook, "Hi Duncan, hope you're okay." I am very well, thank you, Nicola. It's very nice of you to get in touch and say that. Really like it. Today, we are going to be reading As You Like It. And I do like it. Well, I don't know it, if I'm being perfectly honest. Oh, I've got a shiny face today. But I do like it. I like it very, very much. Now, it's got a couple of little things that I need to do before we get started. For example, I need to click on that so that it's all up in my thing so I can see all those comments. And then I need to click on this. And then I need to click on this. Yeah, it's just me doing my admin. Hope you don't mind. And no, that's everything. That's everything done. Now, I've got a bunch of comments. People are commenting like crazy. I'm very excited today. We've got Lauren. She says, "Good afternoon, Duncan. Maddie, Noah, Paul and I are all tuned in. Whew, pleased to see you. Just in time for our sausages and mash. I'm very jealous. I actually genuinely don't know what I've got for dinner today. I'm going to guess we might get some fish and chips, but we'll see." Tamsin says, "Hello, Duncan. Hello, everyone." And then she says, it is I, Frida Kahlo," she says. And then she says, "Coco joke." Only she didn't say Coco joke. She said Coco joke, which made me very happy. I like that. Esme says, "Hello, Auntie Tamsin and Duncan." Why is Auntie Tamsin first? Very cross about that, Esme. Look, this is the serious face. Ready for Shakespeare Sunday. Now, here's the thing. You have spelt it Shakespeare with an X. But, and I don't know if you've done that because you're kind of clever and you know that Shakespeare, there's no two ways Shakespeare was spelt in his lifetime that are the same. In all the times he signed his name, he signed it differently every single time with a spelling. People never used to care about spelling back in the day. True story, it's an interesting book I read about Shakespeare once. I've not read his plays, but I have read a book all about him. Helen says, "Hello, Tamsin. Hello, everyone. Hello, Duncan first, though, so thank you for that." I don't really care. Esme says, "Hello, Granny." Megan, "Hello, Duncan." See, she knows how to put it first there, Esme. "Hello, Duncan, Granny, Auntie T. Esme says, "Mummy will come soon." I hope so. Tamsin says, "Hello, lonely limingers." I'm enjoying reading out your comments, just your conversation to each other, just people chatting. We've got, "Hello, Esme." "Hello, Megan." Esme and Mummy. Everyone's just saying hello to each other as well they should. Now, As You Like It. Let me tell you what I know about As You Like It. Nothing. Except I think this is If Music Be the Food of Love Play On, right? Is that this one? I can't remember. Is that this one? So, it's saying I'm a bit quiet. I shouldn't be quiet. Everything is exactly the same as it has been. Try turning your stuff up because I should be exactly the same as always. None of my settings have changed at all. Oh, but no, I'm looking and I am a bit quiet. There. Yeah, there. No, I was going to say my settings are the same, but then I looked and they're definitely not. So something's obviously happened. Something crafty has happened. Nicola says, "Loving the teddies in the background." If you love them, Nicola, on Facebook, if you love them, you've got to tune in tomorrow at 10:30 so you can meet all of the gang, because this are a groovy bunch of people. Hey, is that a bit better now? I don't know why it's so quiet. There, is that better? Yeah, I think it is. There, we'll stick with that. We'll stick with that. What if I do this? That's too loud. See, I've gone too loud now, but we'll be fine. As long as I don't shout, we'll be fine. Oh look, and because I was looking at this thing, I've lost your comments. So where are we? Bit quiet. Much better. Oh look at that, much better. Thank you very much. Now I miss Granny and Grandpa. Esme, I mean, and then when you go to Granny and Grandpa's house, you'll miss your mummy. Do you know what? What a weird world we live in. But sometimes I think it's horrible when you miss people, but it's kind of good when you miss people, because missing people reminds you of just what they mean to you. That's what I think about missing people. Now, As You Like It. Is this, somebody tell me if this is If Music Be the Food of Love Play On, because honestly, my Shakespeare knowledge is so terrible. You've got to help me out. And it probably won't say it. And I think that's the opening line of whichever play that is. Or is that 12th Night? If Music Be the Food of Love. I don't know. I just don't know. Have I done 12th Night? I've done Twelfth Night. I can't even remember it. So we're going to do As You Like It. Now what we do, as we always do, is we start with the cast list so that I can get some kind of vague idea on how the tune goes, and then we move on from there and we read the story. So we've only got 5 characters in this one. I'll move over this side so I can get that there. Our characters are Duke Senior. Yeah, it's him that says there, if music be the food of love, right? 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 I don't know. Somebody help me out. Rosalind. Not the only Rosalind in Shakespeare. There's one in Romeo and Juliet, a secret one. We never get to meet her, but Romeo's all in love with Rosalind when the play starts and then meets. Anyway, so we've got Duke Senior, who's living in banishment. Rosalind, Duke Senior's daughter. Duke Frederick, Duke Senior's brother. That's uncle to Rosalind. Celia, Duke Frederick's daughter. So they're cousins. Rosalind and Celia are cousins. And Orlando, youngest son of Sir Roland de Boys. There we go. That's where we are today. Orlando. So I don't know who Sir Roland de Boys is yet. We're going to find that one out. The scene, France in the 16th century. Now, Jessica says, hello everyone. Sorry, a bit late to the Shakespeare party. Sorting out a chicken. Now, like the chicken needed your help? Or is it that you definitely weren't helping the chicken? Is that chicken being sorted out in a kind of an oven kind of a way? It's just, you know, because it might just be that you've got like a bunch of chickens and you've got to go and make sure that, you know, I don't know what your chicken situation, chickuation. Don't know what your chickuation is. Anyway, Esme says, oh look, before we start, Esme said, guess what? And I can't start before we found out what it is that Esme's got to say. So go on, Esme. I mean, while you're doing that, I've totally committed to the side parting. And if you've noticed, but I always have a bit of a swoosh to my side parting. So it kind of starts going up from there and it all kind of blends up. I gave up. I was like, no, I keep going because I'm mirrored in my thing. I gave up. I just thought I'm going to go for the most boom side parting. That's what I'm doing. Megan, Esme still hasn't answered. Helen and Megan says, and Jessica says, nom nom nom. I think we know the fate that beheld that chicken, and that it's still yet to come because that chicken is going to be in some tummies soon. Guess what, says Esme, and now I know what the answer is. Me, Mummy and Megan might have a midnight feast this week. Now, not only do I love a midnight feast, my granny always used to bring us a midnight feast, but I love a midnight feast, but I also love the alliteration. You've got me, Mummy, Megan, might, midnight. Love it. Poetic, Esme, poetic. Love it. Now, so we've got Duke Senior, Rosalind, Duke Frederick, Orlando. I've decided Orlando, they're French accents, but I won't be doing them. Orlando, he's going to be my... Right, I tell you what, before we get to what... Orlando's probably not going to come up. In the comments, I want you to tell me what accent I do Orlando in. Everyone else is probably just going to be a bit posh or whatever. You know, high, low, whatever. But Orlando, it's your choice for what accent Orlando has. And we'll see what happens. So, we're going to start the story. As You Like It. Oh look, Megan says, Duncan, it's not story and joke time today. Do you know what? With you lot, I feel like it's always still a little bit joke time, isn't it? Always a little bit. So, As You Like It. I'll keep my eye out to find out which... where's my comments over there? I'll keep my eye out to find out which accent you want me to give Orlando. I'm very excited about that. So, here we go. When Duke Senior was banished by his brother Frederick, many loyal courtiers followed him to the forest of Arden. Here they lived simply, hunting game and gathering wild fruits. Cockney. Orlando will be a Cockney. Hello, governor. That's how he's going to speak. I'm going to do that with my mouth and everything. Look like my dad. The forest gave them a leafy roof and mossy beds to sleep on. Duke Senior found himself more content than he had ever been before. Duke Frederick's life was not so pleasant. They were brothers, aren't they? Yeah. Duke Frederick's life was not so pleasant. He was plagued by guilt and grew suspicious of all those around him, especially his niece, Rosalind. Rosalind had not gone into exile with her father. Oh, let's try that sentence again. Rosalind had not gone into exile with her father because Celia, Duke Frederick's only child, had begged for her to stay as a playmate. Celia and Rosalind became firm friends. I had a cream egg before I started this, so I'm a bit cream eggy. But as the young girls grew into women, Duke Frederick began to notice how Rosalind outshone his daughter. Rosalind's chestnut brown hair and green eyes attracted more admiring glances than Celia's blonde ringlets and dimpled smile. He loves a dark woman, doesn't he, Shakespeare? He always wants women to have dark hair. I noticed it. Duke Frederick's resentment of his niece festered inside him, and I love that word, festered. He was determined that if Rosalind gave him the slightest excuse, he would banish her. One fine morning, Celia and Rosalind visited a village far away. Try that. Visited a village fair. It's just a village fair, not a village far away. They visited a village fair on their way home from riding. There they met Le Beau, one of the Duke's courtiers. Just check. No, we're okay. Ladies, you're just in time, he declared. The Duke has offered me a purse of 50 ducats to any man who can throw his wrestler Charles. 2 challengers have been carried away groaning. The last contender is a charming young fellow. Everybody wants him to win, but it's more likely that Charles will break his neck. Celia and Rosalind were intrigued enough to follow Le Beau to the wrestling ground. A crowd had gathered around a circle marked out on the grass. Within the circle stood Charles, whose powerful shoulders and flattened nose made him seem more like an ox than a man. Duke Frederick emerged from the crowd and walked over to his daughter and niece. He kissed Celia's cheek, and Rosalind received the slightest of nods. I'm glad you're here, said the Duke. A brave but foolish young stranger insists on fighting my wrestling champion. I can't persuade him to change his mind, but perhaps you can. Fetch him, Le Beau. I must take my place in the judge's chair. The young man Le Beau presented to Celia, and Rosalind was dressed in a dark green doublet and hose. Hose is trousers, right, I think. He was tall and athletic, with a mass of blonde hair and clear blue-green eyes. What colour are my eyes? They look really blue today. Kind of blue-grey, aren't they? What I always forget is I've got a little mole just on my eyelid, just there. Just spotted it just then when I was looking at my eyes. So here's May's complaining about her mum. Mummy's making a lot of noise downstairs with the blender thingy. I don't know if she's telling me to tell her to be quiet. She's making your dinner. Get off her back. Rosalind felt giddy. I presume she fancies him, not she's got some inner ear disorder. Do you really mean to fight the Duke's wrestler, sir? It's too late, Esme. You can retract the message, but I saw it, and I've read it out. It's too late now. Do you really mean to fight the Duke's wrestler, sir? She asked. Trying to work out who this stranger is. I do, my lady. I'm going to do that just in case. Said the stranger. I wish you wouldn't, blurted Rosalind. You could be badly injured. I wish you wouldn't too, Celia said. Charles might ruin your handsome... You could be killed. Jessica's like, more Yorkshire pudding for me. I'm sorry, Esme, I grassed you up. I dropped you in it. You've deleted the comment. but I've grassed you right up to your mum. Anyway, the stranger smiled sadly. I'm touched by your concern, ladies, but the truth is that I need that purse of ducats, he said. If I'm injured or killed, so be it. I have no family or friends to care whether I live or die. I care, thought Rosalind, and her heart went out to the lonely young man. A trumpeter blew a fanfare and the stranger returned to the wrestling ring. Begin, Duke Frederick commanded. The wrestlers circled warily. Charles made several lunges, but the stranger evaded his grip, turning and sidestepping as gracefully as a dancer. I hurt my neck doing that. That's how natural a dancer I am. Charles seemed lumbering in comparison, and the crowd laughed at him. The laughter angered Charles, and the anger made him careless. In a move almost too swift to follow, the stranger seized Charles around the waist and threw him to the ground, where he lay dazed and winded. The crowd cheered wildly until Duke Frederick stood up from his chair and signalled for silence. What is your name, young man? I was right. I am Orlando, the youngest son of Roland de Boys, my lord, said the stranger in a kind of Cockney accent. Duke Frederick curled his top lip like a snarling dog. Everyone's just retracting all their messages. I'm looking up and everyone's just retracting messages, all talking about your dinner. Anyway. Your late father was my sworn enemy, he rasped, flinging a purse at Orlando's feet. Take your money and go. He turned to a courtier. Have Charles carried to a physician. Celia, come with me. The Duke stormed off with Lebeau in attendance. Celia, her face crimson with embarrassment at the Duke's behaviour, scampered after her father. The crowd melted away, and soon only Orlando and Rosalind were left. Ah, Orlando! Rosalind stepped forward, unfastened a gold chain from around her neck, and held it out. I'd be like, thank you very much. What's happening to my neck? It keeps clicking. I'm sure I'm fine. Just showing my age. Will you wear this and think of me sometimes? She said. As Orlando took the chain, his mind went blank. My lady, I knew your father, said Rosalind. He was a gallant gentleman. She reached up and brushed her fingertips against Orlando's cheek, then hurried off. What? Orlando thought. Who? Why? A word with you, sir, someone murmured. Orlando turned and saw that Lebeau had returned to the wrestling ground. Why is Sir Roland's son wrestling at a village fair? Lebeau asked. Did we have Lebeau in the cast list? Look, this is his second scene. He's not mentioned in the cast list. I'd have known to make up a voice for him. Now he's just got this whiny voice. Why is Sir Roland's son wrestling at the village fair? Lebeau asked. Orlando sighed. My older brother, Oliver, refuses to share our inheritance, he said. He drove me out at the point of a sword and swore that he would have me murdered if I ever came back. Well, you're no safer here, confided Lebeau. The Duke is in one of his black rages and means to do you mischief. Go to the forest of Arden and find Duke Senior. That's what I would do if I had the nerve. Thanks for your advice, friend, Orlando said. But before I leave, who was the dark-haired lady who spoke to me just now? That's the old Duke's daughter, Rosalind, Lebeau informed him. Rosalind, thought Orlando. A pretty name. A lovely name. A wonderful name. It's all right. All at once, the danger he was in did not seem to matter in the least. I wouldn't risk it. At the same time as Orlando was setting out for the Forest of Arden, in the garden of the Duke's mansion, Celia was staring in disbelief at her cousin. "How can you be in love with Orlando?" she exclaimed. "You've only just met him." "Yet I know we're meant for each other," said Rosalind. Just then, Duke Frederick appeared, his brows bent in a fearsome frown. "Leave my house, Rosalind," he barked. "You have 5 days to quit the dukedom. If you're found within 20 miles of here after that, you'll be put to death." With a duck, apparently. Rosalind's face paled. "What have I done to deserve this, uncle?" she asked. "You were talking to the enemy, my old enemy's son. You were talking to the son of my old enemy," the Duke ranted. "No doubt you were plotting to get rid of me and replace me with your father." "Yes, I know it is true." "I did no such thing," Rosalind said calmly. "Rosalind would no more plot against you than I would, father," protested Celia. Flecks of foam formed at the corners of the Duke's mouth. "Can you be such a fool, Celia?" he hissed. "Don't you see how she simpers her way into people's affections so that they praise her and mock you? Rosalind must leave or die." Means business. Duke Frederick wheeled around and marched back into the mansion. "He's gone mad," whispered Celia. "What will you do, cousin?" "I have no choice but to leave," Rosalind said. "I'll go to Arden and search for my father." "And I'll come with you," said Celia. "I'm not staying here with a madman. I've got enough money to last us a long while, and—" She paused and gnawed at her bottom lip. "But how will we manage the journey? 2 women won't be safe alone, especially women as young as us." Rosalind clapped her hands, and inspiration came to her. "Wear a country girl's clothes," she said. "I'll cut my hair, dress as a man, and call myself Ganymede." "And I'll be Aliena," said Celia. The cousins laughed like children at play. "Oh, it's good, isn't it, they're getting on?" Some weeks later, Duke Senior and his fellows were seated around a campfire eating their evening meal. Jacques, a gloomy nobleman, was spouting an opinion that nobody had asked for. Oh, my guess is it's him that says it, because it says... Oh, shall I try a French accent? Here we go. "Life is a stage on which we play our many parts." He said, "First we are babies, warm, yet wet at both ends. Then we are school children, dragging ourselves to lessons." So sorry. "Next we play, oh, I don't know where that was. Young levels who mope about, I'm sticking with it. Next we play young levels who, I'm going to get through this in a French accent. That's what's happening. So, bonjour, here we go. And next we play young levels who mope about, writing ridiculous poetry. Then we are soldiers, diving into the mouths of cannon to prove our courage. In the Middle Age we grow fat and bore the young with our wisdom. Lastly, we shrink into the role of the elderly, toothless and deaf, and then we make our final exit, never to return." Thank you very much. That was my French accent. That was the All the World's a Stage speech, and thank you. I will accept all money you send my way as congratulations for that incredible accented performance. Ah, you're very lucky. You were here to witness that. How lucky you are. You were here at the French accent. "Thank you, Jacques," said a nobleman on the opposite side of the fire with an accent Duncan can do. "Listening to you always cheers me up." "Hello? Who's there? Called out another. Orlando advanced into the firelight, hands raised to show that he held no weapon. Forgive me, gentlemen, he said. I'd given myself up for lost until I saw your fire. Ah, he's back. Jacques back. What are you doing wandering the forest at night? Demanded Jacques. Can I just say, my wife, I love it when my wife does accents because she's wonderful at them in a very similar way to the way that I am wonderful at a French accent. It's very entertaining. Searching for Duke Senior, that's what I'm up to, said Orlando. And you have found him, Duke Senior said. What is your name, young sir? Orlando bowed. I am Orlando, youngest son of... Roland the Boys, laughed Senior. I see your father's face in yours, my boy. You're welcome for his sake as well as your own. Sit down, eat, and tell us the story of how... You can see I'm too loud now. I can see it peeking over there. And tell us the story of how you came to be here. And tell it quickly before Jacques starts up again, in a French accent that's very accurate, a voice pleaded. For over a month, Celia and Rosalind had been living in a cottage near the edge of the forest. They rented the cottage from a local farmer who kept them supplied with produce. Good food and fresh air had altered the cousins' appearance. Both had tanned faces, and the sun had brought out the lighter streaks in Rosalind's bobbed hair. Rosalind had been unable to locate her father, but unhappy thoughts of Orlando had weighed most heavily on her mind. One afternoon, while they were strolling aimlessly along a forest track, Rosalind poured out her heart to Celia. What if Orlando falls in love with someone else? She fretted. He won't, Celia assured her. Not if he loves you as truly as you love him. But I don't know if he loves me, wailed Rosalind. I think I saw love in his eyes, but he didn't say anything, and how will we meet again? He could be anywhere. Don't give up hope, said Celia. Love is sure to find a way. She stopped walking and cocked her head to one side. Can you hear that scratching, mumbling sound? It's coming from over there. Cautiously, the young women peered through the branches of a thick clump of bushes. Rosalind almost shouted with joy, for there was Orlando lying on his stomach in the centre of a glade. He dipped his quill pen into a deer horn inkwell and muttered to himself as he scribbled on a piece of parchment. Fly to him, Rosalind, urged Celia. Swear your undying love. Rosalind arched an eyebrow and smiled mischievously. I'm not caught as easily as that, she said. Let's find out how good an actor I am. Let me do the talking. So just a moment ago, she was all like, but what if he doesn't love me? And now she's all like, I'm going to pretend to be somebody else in front of him. Orlando began to recite what he had written. When through the treetops blows the wind, it speaks the name of Rosalind. Good poem, well done. Fish in the river, weebly finned. Sing, don't know what's happening in my kitchen. Sing of the beauty of fair Rosalind. Is that supposed to be a love poem? Said Rosalind, stepping into the glade with Celia at her side. Orlando started and shot a sour look at what he assumed was a badly mannered youth. Now, here's the big question. How did my wife get into the kitchen? Did you walk all the way around the house? She walked all the way around the block, because this is the way through. She could have just walked through, right? Freaked me out. I thought there was something scratching in there. Anyway. Is that supposed to be a love poem? Said Rosalind, stepping into the glade with Celia at her side. Orlando started and shot a sour look at what he assumed was a badly mannered youth. Yes, not that it has anything to do with you, he said. Who are you? I'm Ganymede, and this is my sister, Aliena, Rosalind told him. We live in a cottage down the way. How can fish sing when they live underwater? In love poetry, dreams come true, Orlando explained. And who's Rosalind? Orlando touched the gold chain around his neck. The woman I love. He gushed. That's nice, isn't it? Rosalind sniggered. You're not in love. People in love are miserable, but you look happy enough. What would you know of love, insolent boy? Plenty, Rosalind said. It's a disease. I cured a fellow of it once. How? Rosalind shrugged casually. I pretended to be his lazy love, she said. First I flirted, then I argued. I was cruel, kind, spiteful and gentle. I kept leading him on and putting him off. In the end, he was so sick of love that he made a full recovery. I could do the same with you. Orlando shook his head. I don't want to be cured. Of course you do, said Rosalind. That poem of yours was a cry for help if ever I heard one. Come to my cottage every day. I'll cure you in a week. Orlando found the idea amusing. Where is your cottage? He said. I'll show you. Follow me, said Rosalind. Very well, lad. Now, scolded Rosalind, wagging a finger. You call me Rosalind from now on. Agreed? She's pretending to be somebody else, pretending to be Rosalind, but she actually is Rosalind. Shakespeare had a weird brain. Agreed, fair Rosalind, said Orlando. Next morning, Orlando found Rosalind pacing up and down outside the cottage. Good day, Ganymede. Fair Rosalind, Orlando said. Rosalind looked down her nose at him. You're an hour late, she snapped. Is this how you show a lady your love, by keeping her waiting? Orlando bowed low. Forgive me, my Rosalind. When did I say that I was yours? Rosalind asked sharply. I wish you were, sighed Orlando. Then sweet talk me. Orlando leaned closer. I'd rather kiss before we talk, he purred. Rosalind stepped back. Certainly not, she exclaimed. Talk first, and then you might get a kiss after we run out of things to say. Orlando sank down on one knee. Marry me, Rosalind, he begged. Rosalind looked directly into Orlando's eyes. When I marry you, I'll love you with all my heart, and I'll be true to you alone, she vowed. If your Rosalind were here, she would say the same. She's playing games. I don't approve. Be honest. For a dizzy moment, it seemed to Orlando that Ganymede had been transformed into his love. The moment passed. Orlando laughed uneasily and stood up and brushed the twigs and dust from his hose. I must leave you for a while, he said. I promised Duke Senior that I would dine with him. Duke Senior? Gasped Rosalind. Is his camp nearby? It's easy to find if you know where to look, Orlando said airily. Farewell, sweet Rosalind. I promise to return at 2 o'clock. Don't be late, said Rosalind. After Orlando had gone, Celia came out of the cottage. Oh, Celia, I can't pretend much longer. I love Orlando so much, she declared, and burst into tears. Why are you crying? Celia inquired. Because I'm so happy. I don't think I'll ever understand this love business, Celia said to herself. But she was to learn all about love before too long. Well, there's a cliffhanger. Bum, bum, bum. 2 o'clock came and went with no sign of Orlando. Rosalind sat on the doorstep of the cottage and sulked, while Celia hung out the washing. Celia noticed a handsome gentleman coming down the track. The gentleman walked up to her and doffed his cap. Just checking. I'm trying to find out. I reckon it might be Oh no, it's okay. We've not met this one before. Here we go. Eating speak like that. It's going to be a bit more cheeky. Are you Aliena? He asked, blushing. I am, sir, replied Celia, also blushing. And is that the youth who calls himself Rosalind? The gentleman continued, a little lower than before by mistake. It is, said Rosalind. The gentleman held up a blood-stained cloth. Orlando told me to show you this, and to explain why he hasn't kept to his... Sorry, I've totally misread that. I thought it didn't make any sense. It's because I skipped a line now. Orlando told me to show you this and to explain why he hasn't kept his appointment, he said. Rosalind frowned. How do you know Orlando's business? I am his brother, Oliver, the gentleman confessed. This morning I was travelling on foot through the forest. I stopped to rest and fell into a deep sleep. Orlando happened to pass just as a lioness was about to pounce on me. Without knowing who I was and with no thought for himself, he charged the beast to drive it off. The lioness's savage roaring woke me up, and when I saw how nobly and courageously Orlando had acted, I realised how shamefully I've treated him. Our quarrel is over, and I've sworn to Duke Senior that I'll give my brother half of all I own. Rosalind pointed at the cloth. Where did that blood come from? She said. That is Orlando's, Oliver told her. Before she ran away, the lioness clawed his arm. Luckily, he's in no danger. Duke's physician is bandaging his wound. Rosalind sprang to her feet. I must go to him, she exclaimed. No. Here we go. No, wait, sir, tell your brother to bring Duke Senior and his men to the chapel just outside the forest tomorrow at noon. I'll bring his true Rosalind there, and they will be married. Rosalind broke into a run. Where are you going? Called Celia. To find a priest and a dress, Rosalind cried. In the silence that followed Rosalind's departure, Oliver and Celia shyly eyed each other. Shyly eyed, it's fun to say. So there's going to be a wedding tomorrow, Oliver said. Yes, sir, said Celia. Tell me, beautiful Aliena, Oliver said. Have you ever thought of getting married? Celia's eyes sparkled. Not until now, sir. It's quick, wasn't it? The following day at the chapel, there was rejoicing when Duke Senior was reunited with his beloved daughter. Surprises followed. Orlando roared with laughter when Rosalind revealed the truth about Ganymede, and Oliver was bemused to learn that his bride-to-be was actually named Celia. The happy couples were on the point of entering the chapel when LeBeau galloped up on a dapple grey mare. The courtier slipped from his saddle and bowed to Duke Senior. My lord, Duke Frederick came to the forest last night with a troop of soldiers. He meant to track you down and kill you. Instead, he met a holy hermit who spoke as many words of wisdom to him. As a result, Duke Frederick returns your title and estates. He has joined a monastery. Oh, Jack's back. And so shall I, said Jacques announced. It is far too happy here for my liking. But it was only the start of that day's happiness. The celebrations went on late into the night, and every bough in the forest rang with singing and laughter. The end. If I were a woman, I would kiss as many of you as had beards that pleased me. Strange, that's what it says. That's the extra quote at the end. There we go. Right, so that's a very bizarre story, isn't it? It doesn't really, you couldn't say it's got a moral, could you? It just, things happen and then people all get married at the end. In terms, it's amazing how a haircut can make you utterly unrecognisable. I know it wasn't just a haircut. Tamsin. It was a haircut and a bit of a tan. Got to be on that. I've actually, yesterday I messaged my hairdresser and I booked myself in for an unconfirmed time, but put myself on the shortlist. So as soon as we can all go back to normal and my hairdresser's back open, this is getting cut. If you look at me at the start of lockdown, this is just going out and out and out and out and out. That's just the way it's going. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me for yet another Shakespeare Sunday. I've enjoyed that very much. I think, let's be honest, the highlight of every one of these books, we've had Macbeth, Tempest, Twelfth Night, Midsummer Night's Dream, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Taming of the Shrew, Julius Caesar, Antony Cleopatra, and now As You Like It. And the highlight has been Jacques' accent, or Jaccent, as we will call it from now on. So I think, you know, Jaccent, it doesn't get better than that. So almost, I might not bother with the other books because they're not going to get as good as Jaccent. But I suppose I have to. We've got at least six more weeks worth of Shakespeare Sunday knocking about here. So what we've got left, and you've got to choose it. We've got Henry V, King Lear, The Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, Othello, and Richard III. It is your choice. And while you are choosing, don't go yet, Esme, you've got to choose the next story. And while you guys are choosing, I will remind you, 10:30 tomorrow, Toddler Tune Time, I forgot what it was called. And 10:30 on Tuesday as well. Monday and Tuesday, Toddler Tune Time. Would love for you guys to be there if you can be. If not, I'd love for you to tell people about it so that they can join me. What else? No, that'll do. That'll do. I'm just going to wait for an answer. Or I'm going to choose one myself. I'll get them all out. Pop As You Like It back in the box. I normally do a whole intro explaining what Shakespeare said. The Merchant of Venice. Here we go. Now, I know very little about A Merchant of Venice. That's not Merchant of Venice. Here we go. This is next week's book. The Merchant of Venice. It's shiny because of the light. The Merchant of Venice. A Shakespeare story. That's what's coming up next. And I'm very much looking forward to that because I don't know much about it. I know if you prick me, do I not bleed? That's all I know from Merchant of Venice. And that might not even be from Merchant of Venice, but I think it is. And also, no, that's all I know. That's all I know from Merchant of Venice. I thought I knew something else, but okay. Is that the one with Jessica in? Let's find out, shall we? Is Jessica in it? Antonio, I mean, Jessica might be in The Merchant of Venice, but Jessica isn't in here. But then Jacques wasn't in the As You Like It cast list, and Jacques was a major player in that. So there we go. So next week, Merchant of Venice, very excited about it. I will see you hopefully tomorrow for lovely Toddler Tune Time, and we get to have fun with the whole gang. They'll all be up here on this chair, sitting there, ready for some fun. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you on the flip side is what I'm going to do. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.